Okay, it is 9:43 a.m. I would like to call this meeting of the Housing Authority of Travis County to order. May I please have a roll call?
Chair Jimmy Baker,
Present?
Vice Chair Cheryl Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Laura Getchie,
Present.
Commissioner Wilma Roberts, Commissioner Judy Flores. We have a quorum.
Okay, on to item number 2, public hearing. Public hearing for resolution number HATC-2024-21.
Yeah, so as part of the state requirement, the parent organization for a public facilities corporation has to also approve or ratify projects. So it was on last month's agenda, but it was noted incorrectly, so we were just bringing that back. So this is just an opportunity for someone from the public who wants to speak on the project, even though they've already been approved. It gives you yet another opportunity to do such.
Okay, so is there anyone here who would like to speak from the public? And not,
This
On
is
this
no,
project.
you're probably
yeah,
not
I
on
think
this issue.
I think it's for another project. Let me just, yes, no, speak.
Okay. Moving on to item number 3, public forum, citizen communication. Is there anyone here signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. We have 2 individuals. The first being Brenda Bradford with Bosca. Oh, you're not going to speak? Okay. Daniela Dominguez. Hey, Daniela, there's a spot up front that says guest speaker if you want to go there.
So Daniela, just FYI, we give speakers 3 minutes each.
Yes.
Thank you.
So it'll be right here. And I've already pretty much written what I was gonna write, so.
You could bring your little girl up if it makes her feel comfortable. She can come up front with you. It's up to her.
I think it should be fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so my name is Daniela Dominguez. I've been attending at the Alexander Oaks since December of 2023. The Alexander Oaks Association was formed to address issues impacting residents and advocates for better living conditions. So thank you for y'all's leadership in overseeing affordable housing in Travis County and providing this platform for us to share our concerns. As someone who lives in this community, I can tell that tenants deeply value the opportunity to call Alexander Oaks home. However, the issues I have faced has caused me to question the safety of my children and security in the community. The issue I had before was burglary of my car, and nothing was done about it. I made a police report and I told management. They didn't really seem to care or have concern. So either the communication wasn't there or either it just never got back to me, for the safety of my vehicle or just of my, just me and my kids. So I just want to either make a statement on probably better safety for the community, either, security at a certain time where the kids are safe, or just knowing that if we have our vehicles or anything that's not being burglarized, or because that was my concern and I had only lived there for a year. So that's the one reason why I came here today, because I do have a little girl and I have 2 older sons, but they're not, they can't fight off anyone. So I just want to make sure that the community knows that we're safe and that everyone is able to live there and the safety of our kids are being watched over, just because that is the reason why, we do live there, is for the safety and the concern of the community. So, and that was all that I really wanted to cover.
Okay.
I thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, on to item number 4, the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the minutes from the November 7th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the November 7th, 2024 meeting minutes.
And I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, so is the rest of us intended for consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Oh.
can we just back up and say item 4 consent
You
agenda?
can do that, yeah.
So item 4 consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. on to action items. Okay. This is a real mouthful.
You could just read the resolution number.
Okay. Okay. Resolution number HATC-2024-21.
Yes, and associated with the public hearing that you held a few minutes ago, the state statute requires us to, the parent organization of PFC to ratify projects approved by such. So this is just taking care of that requirement.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve resolution number HATC 2024-21.
And I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, on to item B, resolution number HATC-2024-22 to approve the HATC FY 2024 annual budget.
So we're going to allow somebody to provide an overview, and obviously you all went through the actual workshop, but there was some requests for changes, and he'll highlight those now.
Yeah, good morning. So this will be very brief too. So what is presented for the board for approval is the 2025 HATC budget, which runs from January 1st to December 31st. The budget is projecting $20 million in revenues and expenditures in $15 million, and capital improvements and debt services totaling $1.3 million. It includes a contribution from TCFC to HATC business activities to cover the overhead and operations, and also to support the HATC properties that will be close to $2.5 million. And we ran through some of these in detail at the board work session on November 14th. And the one change that was made is per suggestion by one of the board members is to pay off the Wells Fargo loan. So we added $335,000. That's the balance on the loan. That would be for Maynard Town. So that was added, and those funds will be coming from the TCFC set-aside funds. And this budget also includes a 4% COLA for all employees.
Okay.
So,
Any questions for Subra?
No, but I think the resolution description should say 2025 and not 2024.
Oh, it is a typo. You're absolutely.
What do we do about that?
You can change it on the spot. Just make,
So I move.
as you do the resolution.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I move that we approve resolution number HATC 2024-22, pending the description, the change in description, stating that this is the HATC fiscal year 2025 annual budget in the meeting minutes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. On to item C. Resolution number HATC-2024-23 to amend the HATC bylaws.
Yes, so there had been a lot of interest in actually ensuring that there are policies in place to ensure that the organization acts in an appropriate manner and conducts itself in an appropriate manner. And so there's some thought about the bylaws being amended, and we did solicit the help of an outside party to help us. But additionally, I will say that the Governance Committee did the heavy lifting and really did a lot of work relative to that, and I'm going to allow Ms. Getchy to talk about those things. But what you have before you is a combination of the work of the outside consultant and significant work by the governance committee to put before you the amended bylaws.
Okay.
For these bylaws, we took into account the consultant's recommendations, essentially adopted all of those. Then Commissioner Roberts, whose work I want to highlight and thank him for all his time, even in his absence, on this. And I worked together to really, pull the bylaws apart and look at each piece in total. Patrick also was an amazing help and gave us some other housing authority bylaws to compare to. So we kind of did the work of stealing the best ideas and using and adopting that into our bylaws. And then of course, Charles, we took all of his advice and amendments, and we came up with a final revised version that I feel is very complete and a good representation of an amendment.
Okay. Great.
All right, well, I move that we approve resolution number HATC 2024-2023 to amend the HATC bylaws.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Breezing right on. Number 6, discussion items, affordable housing programs.
Yes, this is Carlos's time to shine.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So here we placed together Carson Creek as well as Maynardtown 2 in here, so we can just brief through it all together. I did wanted to touch on the subject here that it was just by our guest speaker here, Danielle, if I'm not mistaken. So although we do understand safety is a concern, we have already gathered bids for security there at the property. The manager here is waiting for one additional bid. It's a requirement per HUD that we do gather 3 bids for these properties before we actually take action. We cannot guarantee 100% safety throughout anywhere. Nobody can guarantee that you will be 100% safe anywhere you go. We will urge our tenants to do some other safety precautions, lock cars, pull windows up, make sure none of the windows are down, things like that, just to make sure that nobody is going into any of their vehicles or personal belongings, things like that. I want to move along a little bit more regarding Maynardtown and Alexander as well. The Inspire, all life-threatening corrections for Maynardtown for the Inspire inspection that was just performed, they've all been submitted already. Everything's already been there for them to review. We're waiting on the final word from them. I know that we received it for Maynardtown. We're just pending on the one for Alexander Oaks. There is one item pending from all the corrections for Alexander Oaks. Sorry. Here, excuse me, Christina's building an Excel spreadsheet is the last item that needs to be done in order for us to submit the final corrections over to the TDHCA. Weekly visits continue over at Carson Creek as well as Maynardtown 2. Progress has been going. At Carson Creek, we're at 80% completion throughout the entire project. I was going to have here he is, Michael Richardson, just so that he can speak a little bit more on the progress and things that have been going. Michael, do you mind?
Like, when you're gonna come up to the front, yeah,
Here
thanks.
with his guest speaker.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Michael Richardson. I'm the general contractor for Carson Creek project, and as Carlos had mentioned, we're at least 80 to 85% complete on the project. And I believe we're at about 4.5 months, 5 months into the project. So it's moving pretty good. We do have some delays and we've run across some issues, but we're still progressing. Some of the issues that we've had were foundation issues, flooring issues, trying to re-level some of the floors, especially in building 1300 where the previous contractor had raised it because it dropped about 5 inches. He could only raise it 3 inches. So we had to come back in and float the floors out with Portland cement and torpedo sand another 2 inches. And then we still had to use a floor leveler before we even put the floors in. So now we're at the stage where in 1300 and 1302 where we have completed all the interior painting, the interior doors, exterior paintwork, railing, all that's completed. Now we're moving toward putting in the floors next week. The kitchen cabinets are in, the countertops are in. We switched countertops. We went from plastic laminate to quartz because of the delay with plastic laminate countertops. We're 8 weeks out, so we made a decision to go ahead and go with quartz. And we've got half the countertops in on that project. Gotta look at some of my notes here.
So, Mr. Richardson, can I ask you a question on the unit, I think it's 1300 that you mentioned, that has foundation issues? I know you've done a lot of work to level the floors, but did we do any, my fear is that if we haven't addressed the foundation issue professionally, we're gonna see cracking again. So is that a unit that we need to hire a foundation company
Well,
to come in?
previously, it was raised by a foundation company, but they could only raise it so far without cracking the beam.
Okay.
So if you raise it anymore, you would crack the beam. Now, we have one other issue with 9603, that has a foundation problem as well. But there, it has to be raised about 2 inches all the way around the perimeter of the building. So the foundation contractor we're scheduled with him to go in and raise the foundation next week. We're putting piers all the way around the foundation every 4 to 8 feet. So that's gonna substantially help it.
Are the piers only around the foundation or inside of the building?
Only around, because what has happened, it's kind of the outer perimeter has dropped and the inside is still at its original height. It's probably a difference of about a ½ inch to 1 inch on the inside, but we figure once we raise the outside, that should take care of it. But we're also gonna have to do the same thing that we did on 1300 and actually go in and manually level the floors with a self-leveling compound. As far as 1300 and 1302, we are waiting on Austin Energy to come and de-energize the electrical panels so that we're able to go in and rebuild the meters. Once they de-energize it, we can go back and rebuild the meters there and upgrade the service. And that should be completed by next week. 1410, 9500, 9502, 9504, and 9510. We're putting in countertops this weekend. It's a 1-day process. And then after that, we will start to put the floors in after we do the countertops. We are working on installing the interior doors at 9502, 9504, and 9510. That'll be completed by sometime mid next week. And then we can do the interior paint. Well, the interior painting is completed, but then we can go in and paint the doors and the shelving and the base like that. By the 15th, we would have floors in on 1410, 9500, 9502, 9504, and 9510. Excuse me, let me silence my phone. I apologize for that.
No worries.
Okay. There we've had to go back in and pull on 1410, 9500, 9502, 9504, and 9510. Austin Energy has come out and de-energized the meters there, and we're just waiting for the weather to get better to where we can go back in and do the electrical upgrades on the meters. That was scheduled yesterday, but due to the weather all day with the rain and everything, so hopefully the weather will clear out by the weekend and we can get that taken care of. As I said, 1410, 9500, 9502, 9504, 9510, those units will be completed by the end of December. 9603, as I mentioned before, we have to do the foundation repairs on that. That's going to start next week, and we should have that completed by mid-January.
So is there any possibility of having any units completed before Christmas? Is there a way to accelerate that?
Well, I would say if we get the electrical upgraded at 1300 and 1302, that may be the possibilities, but also we have to realize that once they're completed, we have to wait on the city to come out and do the
Inspection,
inspections.
yeah.
And sometimes that can cause delays, but,
Yeah,
you know, it's this time of year where the city, they'll shut down from
I know.
the 20th of January all the way to the first of the year sometimes, so.
Right. Well, if there's any way possible to make a couple people happy, that would be wonderful.
Okay,
If you could get, you know, a couple of units ready, you know, for them to move in and be in their house on Christmas Day, that would be great.
okay,
So, well, thank you.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you for
update.
your
all
work.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we know you hadn't had an opportunity to meet them in person, so
Yeah, thanks for
No,
coming
this
in.
is-
we
Yeah.
were like, could you please get her this Thursday?
Yeah,
So thank you,
yeah.
Michael.
Well, I appreciate it, and you're welcome to come out to the job site anytime.
Great.
Kind of take a look and walk around, see the progress of the job, and also compare it with some of the other units that are in the neighborhood, and you'll see that there's a substantial difference. You know, it really looks good.
Well, we walked them.
We
I
did.
think we walked.
Oh, you guys
and I
snuck out
walked
there
them-
one
walked
day?
them before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now you
Before the
need,
work.
now
Before
you
the
need to go
work.
see it,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
with the work in progress. You know, I think you'd be impressed.
yeah. I think that's great. So if there's any possibility, if those two units, if you can, you know, be able to say, it would be great if we could, you know, report back to Commissioner's Court that we started this work and we had a couple of units
Yes.
completed for people to move in. It's their choice as to whether or not they want to, but it would be a great story.
Yes,
to
and
share.
we've been encouraging Michael to see what we can do. What we are gonna do is adopt the families and, the staff actually, we're gonna give each of the families gifts for all the family members for Christmas, understanding that they're not in their home, back in their homes. There's no real consolation not being back at your home, but hopefully it'll at least, you know, demonstrate our desire to consider what, you know, what the situation is. So, but the work is, I've been very impressed with the work myself, so.
Great,
Great.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you again.
Have a great morning.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, Maynardtown?
Yes, as far as Maynardtown too, I do wanna, you know, I know that we've been pressing on this to make sure that we can get this completed. I know it's long overdue. We've been having issues with the elevator itself. The elevator seems to be the biggest concern. The adjuster came out, he did his job already, although he found that a relay was missing. They've ordered the part, finally it arrived. So TK elevator is scheduled to go out there. The superintendent's still waiting on the date confirmation. As soon as they go out there, then they'll reach out to the adjuster to come out. It seems to be taking forever. I know we had a scheduled grand opening for the 11th of this month. We don't see that that's going to be happening either as well. So we're going to push it a little bit towards January. I think I'm going to continue to be pressing over the superintendent to make sure we can get it done. I'm going to see if we have Patrick as well weigh in on it, seeing if we can get this done, the sooner the better. Yeah.
Great.
And the city manager, I spoke with him, he's committed to having his folks shepherd the process once we can take care of our side with the elevator, which we're kind of at the beck and call of those folks. And so as soon as that happens, they assured us that they will be responsive. So we are going to work on doing our best to make that happen.
Okay.
So we would also be reaching out to our tenants over at Maynardtown 1. I know they're extremely eager to move over to Maynardtown 2, so we're hoping that by early next week we're hosting a meeting with them just to let them know the details, give them updates on where we're at with things.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do understand also, you know, I wanted to ask a question before Mr. Richardson came to speak.
Sure.
Relative to security,
Yes.
what's our standard procedure of security at our properties?
So again, and this is throughout the affordability, right? There's a, in Blue Moon, there's a document that's printed for security purposes, right? No property can guarantee you 100% that you will
Understood
be
that.
100% safe anywhere. So just take proper precautions for those types of things. Now, depending on the situation, what actually happened on the situation, we take each case by case, right? depending on again, what occurred. I know Christina's gonna look into further into what actually happened with this particular tenant, to see what we can do ourselves. Let's say if somebody broke a window, then of course we'll go out there, we'll block the window temporarily until we get the window fixed, things like that. We do urge the.
Is that our responsibility though, from a housing?
No, none of those things are our responsibility, obviously, right? But let's say a window's broken inside of the home, we do make sure that to secure it.
Okay, the home, but
yeah,
not,
the
I'm
home.
talking.
The vehicle
Vehicle.
itself, no.
Oh, okay, okay, that's what I was-
No,
I wanted-
no, sorry.
Yeah,
I think he was
I was-
putting more global in that.
Right.
Oh,
in his
okay,
response,
okay.
I was
yeah.
giving a more general outline of
Okay,
things,
okay,
right?
all
Let's say if it's a vehicle though, they do have to, of course, make a call the police, make sure and call, get a police report completed, make sure and call their insurances, because those things are not.
It's not our
property.
responsibility,
Correct.
right?
Right,
That's right.
it's a public street. I just want to make sure folks are
Right.
aware that
Yes,
Valiant
Right.
Circle is it's actually a public street.
yes.
So
Mhm.
the police they do have a responsibility, and I just want to chime in. We are trying to continue to cultivate that relationship with them, to encourage them to, patrol a little more often, as far as that's concerned. The security issue would be in and above and beyond what we typically would do in those cases. I mean, we've done security in a couple cases, like say in the case Eastern, there was a rash of shooting a few years ago, and we had security for a temporary period on, during the weekends. But it is costly. I mean,
Absolutely.
so, yes. And again, this is public street, as far as the street goes. So we will still, even though we're collecting bids, we still do need to bring that back and have you consider what that means in terms of the cost, because
And we're collecting bids for
Security itself. So they'll-
because somebody's car was broken into on
Not
a
just
public
particular
street.
for that, right? We're having other issues rising, maybe homelessness that keep coming in through our properties, things like that are happening. Some of our residents are concerned of those types of things. They seem to be happening after hours, and so security is definitely going to help. That way they can call police right away. They can have them escorted and issue citations, things of that nature, right? Let us know exactly who's inviting these 10 homeless people coming in, so we can make sure and address it right there and then, get proper lease violations, things like that, so that we can follow procedures on our end.
So the process would be what, that if, let's just use a scenario of someone that's homeless. A tenant would contact our security person.
No,
If
so.
they, how would
Yeah,
they?
so once we hire the security services, right, they'll be patrolling evenings, so they'll have evenings throughout the entire night. They'll be patrolling either by foot or with a vehicle. They'll be roaming around the property, checking the status on the building, seeing what's going on out there, and then giving a report the next day and letting us know exactly what's been going on. Also, they'll be giving us additional items that they may have looked at, maybe some of the lighting is out that needs attention, things like that may require additional attention that we may not see it throughout the day.
let me qualify it again. This is a tentative proposal that you've not heard about, obviously, because there is cost implications.
Okay.
And if you feel the need, sorry, Carlos
No,
and
you're fine.
Christina, I'm just intervening because I want you to understand, like, it was been asked to look into this because of the concern, but obviously it would need to be vetted, and you all would need to sort of weigh in on how you feel about such, because, there's.
Right.
It is.
It is very costly.
It is very costly, and the reason why a few years ago that we didn't have consistent security and we only did it for interim periods because it was costly. So we limited it to 2 months, and it was just 2 days, the weekends, and that was fairly costly. I don't know if some of you recall what we paid at the time, but it was significant.
And would we do this for a particular property or all the properties?
This is going to be for Alexander and Summit Oaks.
Alexander and Summit?
Yeah.
It's a proposal.
Okay.
Okay. We'll wait for the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, and I would like more than just the numbers, because
Okay.
one of the things that I think that, that I would like us to look at is what are other housing authority organizations doing
Okay.
in comparison to what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know that you know, our two properties are not the only two properties that are having issues with, you know, crime.
Right.
And so the city of Austin, HACA, what's HACA doing?
Right.
Right? You know, in comparison to what it is that we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you bring it back, I'd like to have some type of comparison to, you know, what other organizations are doing as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can see, you know, are we comfortable, are we less, are we on par, or what is it
Yes,
that we're
ma'am.
doing in this space?
Okay.
All right.
Any additional questions?
Nope. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the progress.
really, it's been
I know Carson
astounding.
Creek has been,
Yeah.
that's been a challenge. I'm
Yes,
looking
ma'am.
forward to January 2025, so this one could be laid to rest,
Yes, ma'am.
at least for a while, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the work that we're doing on Maynardtown too
Mm-hmm.
is fantastic. I want to compliment the organization for the work that they did for Thanksgiving in Maynardtown. The residents there were very excited. I didn't go through on Thanksgiving Day
Yeah.
because everybody should have been cooking turkeys on
Right.
Thanksgiving, right? But great work there as well.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. CEO Executive Director Evaluation. Would you like to do this in open meeting or an
I
executive?
can be executive session, that's
Okay.
fine.
Cheryl, will you make a motion?
You want to do that now?
Well, let's go, why don't we go
Let's
through the
go
rest?
through the rest and then.
Yeah. Annual elections.
So Mr. Roberts approached me about potentially the governance committee. I don't know, did he speak with you, Laura, as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to speak on that? I guess it might be appropriate for me to.
He had an understanding that one of the items under the governance committee's purview was to give recommendations
You're right.
for
First, like-
leadership for the organization. And so we made a plan to discuss it sometime.
Okay. So how should we proceed?
So, I think that they're gonna make a recommendation to you all, and then at next month's meeting after elections, you can elect to go with the recommendation of the governance committee, or decide to just seek nominations from the floor. Because I think what they're planning on doing is offering a slate of officers officers as recommendations.
And do we typically do elections in January?
Yes.
Okay.
At the annual meeting per the bylaws.
Okay. Okay, good.
And hopefully by that time, we'll have clarification on whether or not, you know,
We can
our.
really
our-
not-
Oh, the
Our
appointments.
appointments are,
I think barring no action, you're a holdover at least at a minimum, but I understand what you're saying, like, yeah.
He asked me to reach out to Andy, so I'll do that later.
Yeah, and I did reach out again to our folks this morning again.
Okay. Okay. All right. Item D, strategic plan status update.
Yeah, so I sent you all a recommendation
Yeah,
I had about
twice,
getting
yeah.
feedback so that, one, we could do, huh?
I know you said it
Sorry.
twice. I know I haven't responded.
Okay, yeah, I sent the same email.
Right.
Well, my desire is for us to get feedback, so we're at the last year of the plan, and to be able to clearly identify what we think is the priorities. So there's 30 goals, and so my hope was, if you all were fine with that both you all and the staff would provide input on those elements and some assessment of where we believe we are, or priorities for such. And I would be putting that together in a presentation that I'd provide to you all at the annual meeting relative to strategic planning. The hope also is at some point during next year, if we have another retreat of sorts, we can talk about some of these things in greater detail. But that was my goal, and I just wanted to get your concurrence on that so that I can move forward.
we concur.
We concur.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's see. Board committee reports, item 7. Governance, Finance, and Administration Committee. You've already told me everything.
Yes, I think
We've covered it?
we've covered everything from our committee.
Okay. 50th Anniversary Committee.
Yes, so we've met again. It's Mr. Roberts and staff. And we did get some responses in. However, we also got expressed interest from a UT intern who is a marketing person to handle the scope of the events. So it sounds very promising and low or no cost in terms of their services. But he did some work up in the Dallas area, and it seemed very much in line with what we wanted to do. So we're kind of working with him on a proposal that we'll share early next year, with the idea that the foundation in theory would be the ones sponsoring the event on behalf of the Housing Authority. Obviously, you proved in the budget funds for the anniversary, which would sort of run through the foundation. In the event that we do an event that would potentially be a fundraiser, then it would go to the foundation. But that's where we are to date.
Okay.
Okay,
Any questions?
no questions.
Okay. Item 8, new and unfinished business. Is there any to discuss?
No, but I did want to underscore one more time
Sure.
the training possibilities. There's a fodder conference coming up, and in February, locally, we'll have the Texas NARO conference that's going to be here in Austin. So it's I think it's the 11th through the 13th, maybe, of February. I forgot what hotel it is, but it is here. One of the days, the final day, will be a visit to the Hill. Well, I'm saying the Hill, the Texas,
Legislature?
the Capitol. Yeah, I'm thinking about the narrow DC, but
It's a slight hill.
It's the Hill. They call it the Hill.
No, I'm just saying it's on a slight hill.
Oh, it's a slight hill. Yeah, that's right. It is elevated. So it'll be a visit to the legislative offices as part of that, which it has some value. But the conference is going to be here, so I would encourage folks to really seek the opportunity to do that. So.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, executive session.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for Texas Government Code annotated 551.074 personnel matters.
You need a second.
Oh, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is 11 a.m.
What time is it? Sorry. 11 a.m.?
It's 10:59 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting of the Housing Authority of Travis County back to order. May I have a roll call?
Yes. Chair Jimmy Paver.
Present.
Vice Chair Cheryl Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Laura Getchy.
Present.
Commissioner Wilma Roberts. Commissioner Judy Flores. We have a quorum.
Okay. So I would like to note that in executive session, the board agreed to increase the CEO's merit-based pay by 2.5% for the upcoming year.
Is there any discussion?
What's that?
I said, is there any other
Any
discussion?
discussion on that item? No? Okay, new and unfinished business we did, executive session we did. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great meeting, everybody.
Was that you, Cheryl, you made a motion?
She made the motion.